Hello and welcome to Buffalo Bills football broadcast. This is your host, Pat Carosa, and of course I'm a huge Buffalo Bills fan, and let me just say I am excited about the free agent acquisitions that was acquired by the Bills within the last month, and I will be talking about a lot of the top free agents that the Bills acquired, and let me just say they got better within the last month. I think this team has a solid enough roster that they could be one of the teams competing for a playoff spot next season, or could be in the playoffs next season. I think they're going to really surprise some people. So here we go. I mean, the first big name ticket that they had was the center from the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Morse. And I think that was a big get by the Bills. I think he has not given up a sack in 3 years, which is great, and which really in the center position, I think that was a really big thing, and he should grow with Josh Allen like he grew with Patrick Mahomes last season. He really helped Patrick Mahomes to be the quarterback that he is now, and he will do the same with Josh Allen. So I think that experience with Patrick Mahomes is a big plus. He did have concussions last year, but he has stayed mostly healthy throughout his career, and I expect him to be a have a big impact for the Bills this year, as he effectively replaces Eric Wood after his retirement 2 seasons ago, and obviously the Bills had trouble replacing him last season. So that was a big get by the Bills, and that should improve the offense as a whole. The next big free agent that they signed was Cole Beasley. He signed a 4-year, $29 million contract, and he's a slot receiver that the Bills really need. They really haven't had a great slot receiver for a very long time. I would say the last slot receiver that I can truly recall the Bills having was Josh Reed. You could even say Chris Hogan was more of that slot receiver, although he was also more of a deep threat. So you could go both ways on that. But Cole Beasley is a good slot receiver. He can create space all by himself and find that tiny windows to get open. He runs crisp routes, and he'll be a good third down receiver for Josh Allen. He made a lot of plays with the Dallas Cowboys, and he was really a security blanket for Dak Prescott, especially after Jason Witten retired last season. And he almost always catches the ball. He does have fingers like glue, and he should be a good outlet for Josh Allen, like I said, and rather than running, he'll see him open for a first down. So that should really lessen his running next season, which is kind of what I hope. Although he should still run and make plays in that regard, he'll have Cole Beasley as that security blanket. The next receiver that they signed was John Brown, and he is a deep threat. They tried to sign him last season, but because of the Bills' trouble with the quarterback position, he went to Baltimore on a 1-year deal. And he has the speed that should work well with Josh Allen's arm strength. And with him and Robert Foster, that should be a lethal combination. Both are deep threats. I think Robert Foster has a future in this league, and John Brown can only move cornerbacks his way, which means teams will have to make a choice. Who do you cover, Robert Foster or John Brown? So that should really put the defense in a bind. next season. His play dropped off last season, but that wasn't totally his fault, as obviously they went with Lamar Jackson in the second half of the season, and Lamar Jackson is a running quarterback. He didn't throw all that much, and when he did throw, he had a low completion percentage. So his play, and like most of the Ravens receivers, dropped off in the second half of the season. And consistency is still an issue, though. I think he has good games, and then he'll have games that you'll wonder where he went. But overall, he is a big, deep threat for the Bills, and combine that with Robert Foster, I think you have a really good combination there. The next player that they signed was Tyler Kroft. He was from the Cincinnati Bengals, and he should be a security blanket for Josh Allen. He has good hands. He was hurt last season and didn't play much, but when he had his chance in 2017, he had 42 receptions and 7 TDs, so that should be a little bit of a plus for the Bills. So we'll see where that goes. I still expect the Bills to draft a tight end and get that area filled. So we'll see where it goes. Right now, they really have 3 tight ends on their roster: Jason Kroom, Tyler Kroft, and another offensive tackle turned tight end, Josh Fisher, who was Tyler Kroft's teammate in Cincinnati. But I do expect the Bills to draft a tight end, so I do expect Tyler Kroft to be like a security blanket, like Cole Beasley, for the Bills this season. Then the Bills signed 2 offensive linemen, Ty Nsekhe and John Filisano, and both are sleeper signings, in my opinion. They could start and provide depth for whatever position that they play, and they mostly play tackle and guard. And Ty Nsekhe really shined when he had the chance in Washington. I actually looked at some of his highlights, and he looks really good. So he's a favorite for the right tackle position, and he has a nasty streak, which is a big combination for a lot of these offensive linemen that the Bills signed this season is that they have a mean streak to them, and I think that is really what made the Bills' offensive line okay and really good in 2017, is that they can bowl people over, and I think both players can do that. And also, John Filisano was coached by Bobby Johnson, who's the new offensive line coach. So that looks really good for the Bills' offensive line. And they also signed another receiver, Andre Roberts, and that's an interesting sign. He could play punt returner and kickoff returner. He gave the Bills fits in that Jets game at Buffalo where the Jets won, and he had a great kickoff return. And he also had a good kickoff return when he was with the Falcons in 2017. So I think the Bills were looking at Andre Roberts for a while, so that's also a good get. And I would say the last 2 big signings that they have was Kevin Johnson, who's a good depth cornerback signing and could fight for the starting spot that Levi Wallace will have competition with, and if healthy, he could be a big contributor to the Buffalo Bills defense. And they also signed E.J. Gaines, which is a big sign for the Bills. He knows the system. It's the same system that he ran in 2017, and the Bills were 8-2 when he played. So the Bills were winning when he played. So I think that is a big sign, and he's a good cornerback too. So I expect E.J. Gaines to compete for that starting job and have a depth and have a depth roster spot this season. And really, their cornerbacks look solid this season. I mean, you have Trey White, to me, one of the best cornerbacks in the game, and then you have competition for that number 2 spot. Kevin Johnson, Levi Wallace, and many draft picks like Taron Johnson, and then Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer and Raphael Butch. I mean, you have a really solid secondary there. And then the last free agent that they signed that I'm going to talk about is Frank Gore, and in my opinion, that is the most interesting signing of all the Bills free agents, because the Bills now have one of the oldest running back duos in the league. Actually, Frank Gore and LaShawn McCoy set a record for the oldest running back tandem in league history. So that is really, really interesting, and I think he has some juice left. Is he going to be Frank Gore of when he was with the San Francisco 49ers? No, but I think he could still contribute in some way. And I think LaShawn McCoy could have somewhat of a bounce back year this year. So I think they could still be productive. So he actually had 722 yards last season, which is pretty good for a 35-year-old running back. And I still expect the Bills to draft a running back at the end of the draft, more in like the 4th and 5th round. So really, what I expect is what I said at the beginning. I think the Bills have a solid enough roster to compete for a playoff spot next season. They improved their offense really in a month. I think Josh Allen has a lot more weapons at his disposal. Is it one of the best receiving corps in the league? No, but I think Cole Beasley and John Brown could contribute for the Bills this season. And really, I think the offensive line is going to be much better this year. I think they're going to open up more holes for LaShawn McCoy and now Frank Gore, and also provide Josh Allen the protection he needs. And I believe that when Josh Allen did get that protection last season, he picked defenses apart. I mean, he just rifled it right in there. So I am excited for this season, and with 10 draft picks, the Bills are set up for success this season. So until next week, when I talk about the draft and the Bills' needs for the draft, go Bills, and let's hope for the best for the 2019 NFL Draft in Tennessee. Thanks, and leave comments too at the bottom, or if you even subscribe to me. Thanks. Bye.